Hello everybody, my name is Matthew. Have you often heard the phrase from rags to riches? Well, I went down that same road, only in reverse. I had everything I could want, and then overnight I lost it all and was left with nothing. You want to know how I did it? Then listen up and watch my story all the way. My parents are well-respected businessmen and have several huge construction companies. When they were my age, they already had accomplished a lot of stuff. I had everything ready from the get-go. We lived in a penthouse of our own high-rise building in the heart of Manhattan. Almost every weekend we woke up at around the same time. Our maid served the breakfast at around 10. We ate, talked, and we went about our rooms, got dressed. I, like my folks, also had regular meetings. Only not with business partners, but with friends. As you guessed, had a lot of people to hang out with. Each of them had at least 4 or 5 people, so we would gather somewhere like a restaurant, club, and just party till the morning. All my friends from all these groups walked me to my car, or when I completely closed the account, come up to hug me, call me the best again, as always. Girls always kiss me on the cheek, and guys always give me bro hugs. It flattered me. Other than that, my favorite pastime was to pester the lowlifes in my class. Yeah, I went to school. We had a couple that got into our closed school by some miracle. They did something for the owner of the school. If I'm not mistaken, saved this kid's life or something. That's how it happened. There were 2 of them. 2 of them were given free tuition at our school. The boy's name was Daryl, and the girl's name was Emily. Then, we were friends. They were usually quiet, didn't say anything to me. It was interesting that they carried their lunch to school with them, whereas we just do class lunch combos. But these guys couldn't afford to buy those every day. That made them even poorer in my eyes. And the poorer they felt, the more I wanted to make fun of them. Over the years, I realized that I was getting a little bored with it, you know? Life was steadily changing, and believe me, even that kind of thing makes you lose interest. And when my interest was gone, another life began. I woke up early in the morning after another binge, and I heard my mother crying and sobbing. I wasn't used to hearing this, and I felt really bad, so I ran to the bedroom and saw her sitting on the floor, crying. She was still in her jacket and pants. She had not even changed since yesterday's work. I was very frightened, actually, and asked what was wrong. She could not speak, but even then it was clear that there was something very serious going on. Only an hour later, she told me that our family was bankrupt. This news was like a load of bricks. I couldn't believe that it was true. Turns out that my father flew to London, solved problems with partners. I sat dumbfounded, not knowing how to live and what to do now. On the same day, some people arrived. They kicked us out of our house, seized our property, got all the paperwork, cars, and even some of our belongings. All my mother and I had left was some of our cash, some stuff, and obviously our phones. First thing we did was pack up everything I needed. We closed the house, and it was sealed. We went to a hotel where I wanted to get a room, but my mother, after doing the math, said that we should save money. I didn't understand what that meant. With our situation, there's no telling the problems that we would have because of the money. I never thought about that. We left there and went to a motel, the cheapest one. I am not gonna tell you about the conditions and how it smelled. It was the first time in my life that I ate fast food, drank cheap soda, and slept on a smelly little bed. That's how we started our business with your father, my mom told me. And I didn't know. Turns out that they went through a lot that I didn't know about. In order for you to have everything, we worked really hard, and we didn't even have time to have more kids besides you. And now, our competitors want us to take everything away from us. But your father won't let them. I know. I believe him, Mom said, and I turned off the lights and went to bed. At that time, I thought that after a couple of nights in the motel, it would be over, and we'd be back to our awesome lives. But it wasn't over in a week or a month, or even 3. I was starting to get nervous. I had to take the subway to school, had to eat whatever I could. My expensive suits were getting ruined by simple laundry. I was running out of money. Every day my mom would go somewhere trying to get money she lent me, but very few people would pay me back, almost nobody. They were no longer afraid of us, and the respect of my parents' friends disappeared along with our money. And the same thing happened to me. I remember coming to school without money and without lunch, For almost 3 months, I lived like this. All my supposedly loyal friends turned away. They saw and heard our bankruptcy, but no one even asked how I was doing. So, that day, my mom and I realized that the only money that was left was for rent, not even for food. I arrived hungry at school, and by lunchtime, I felt so bad that I was ready to steal food from people. I saw a nice container of food on the table. There were delicious vegetables, eggs, a casserole, a piece of apple pie, and a bottle of water, and an apple next to it. I just couldn't help myself. Sneakily, I grabbed the container and ate it as fast as I could, hiding under the table. And when I'd almost eaten it all, I saw Emily's feet and she was looking at her lunch and I was looking at her with my mouth full. I was so embarrassed. I got up and handed over the empty container. Couldn't even squeeze an apology out of myself. I was too embarrassed. And you know what she did? She handed me a bottle of water and kept one apple for herself. She wasn't even angry. It seemed like it was an act of kindness. I silently took the bottle and left. Then I saw Daryl get angry. He wanted to come up to me. I waited, but she stopped him, and he shared his lunch with her. After a couple of weeks, when I got home, the door was locked. Turns out we'd been kicked out on the street because my mom and I were behind on our rent. It was the middle of the night. My mom was crying. No one was helping us, and I hadn't heard from my dad. I didn't know where to go, but suddenly I remembered that Daryl and his family lived nearby. He was stunned at the sight of me, asked where I got the nerve, and I begged for my mother's sake, and he let us in. His family gave us a room, fed us and gave us water, gave us showers. I slept well for the first time in months. The next day, Emily brought lunch separately for me. My mom was looking for work. And in the meantime, we were living at Daryl's house. My former rich friends found out about it. They fished me out after school and started bullying me. Can you believe it? Me. After all I've done for them. Pushing me around, calling me a bum. And I fought back as long as I could, but I got weak lately. When a guy named John was about to throw one last punch, Daryl hit him right from behind. He actually stood up for me, and Emily stood up for him too. They defended me from my own old friends. Can you imagine that? They were dispersed by a teacher. Mom got a job as a waitress in a coffee shop. We stayed at Daryl's for 2 more months, during which time they fed and housed us for free. We saved up and moved out. For the summer, Daryl, Emily, and I found a part-time job at the local movie theater, selling tickets and food. I didn't realize how close we'd actually become. Anyway, a whole year went by. Can you imagine? And suddenly, our father showed up. Turns out he took care of everything. The arrest was lifted. We were really happy. But I changed a lot in the meantime. I didn't spend my money on parties anymore. I decided to turn over my share of capital. First thing I did with my mom was to give Daryl and Emily an apartment because we definitely owed them. I stopped talking to those other guys. I'm glad they did. If you liked the video, then don't forget to subscribe, comment down below, and leave a like.